We have some breaking news from the NHL and a couple of notes involving the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've signed Alex Nylander, plus we have an update on Matthew Knies, and the Vegas Golden Knights have signed a 5-year deal with Brett Howden. We'll discuss all the details for both clubs coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a couple of breaking news items here. A couple regarding the Toronto Maple Leafs, one from earlier this afternoon involving the Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights earlier this afternoon had confirmed that they've come to terms with forward Brett Howden on a 5-year contract extension at an average annual value of only $2.5 million per season. I honestly think that's great value. I know theoretically Howden is, when they're fully healthy, generally plays a bottom six role, often on the third line, sometimes on the fourth, but he can also play top 6 minutes. And he's one of those guys that's very versatile, can kind of go up and down your lineup. Right now, he's one of the guys running NHL that's looking for the Cy Young Award. Lots of goals, very few assists. I think he's got like 8 or 9 goals in the season. So, you know, for a guy who's going to play bottom 6 minutes, which is, you know, a little bit more limited role, limited ice time, give you solid 15 to 20 goals. And really, to be honest, he might even do more than that this year. $2.5 million on a 5-year deal. He's still, you know, in his 20s. It's a no-brainer contract. He's been a pretty good fit since he's landed with Vegas. It seems like most players are. I'm not sure what it is. It seems to be pretty rare that a player goes to Vegas and it doesn't work out. I can't think of any examples. It just seems like everybody seems to go there and get better. And then sometimes they have to leave after and they move on, but it's hard to duplicate that level of success. It's just absolutely crazy. I'm not sure what it is about the vibe around that team or just the players that they have. They do have a lot of players, though, that do make everybody around them better. Mark Stone being a prime example of that, and Howden at times has played with Stone. So certainly another benefactor and all of that. But it's a really good contract and to me a no-brainer deal for a guy like Brett Howden. I think some other guys around the NHL, I know a guy like Jake Evans is probably looking at that saying, okay, that's probably something comparable to what I'm looking at. Whether or not he stays in Montreal or whether or not he's traded and gets that deal elsewhere, it's still to be determined. A couple of items, as I mentioned, regarding the Toronto Maple Leafs. Matthew Knies has been officially placed on injured reserve. Of course, we don't know exactly how long he's going to be out. It's pretty fair to say, even though the Leafs haven't said a whole lot, that, you know, he's dealing with concussion-type symptoms. You know, that's my assumption based on how everything that went down after the massive hit from Zach Whitecloud in the Vegas game the other night. I know we've debated at length about the hit itself, legal, not legal, you know, penalty, no penalty, and I still stand by my opinion that it was a clean hit with an unfortunate outcome, which obviously what the league stands by. The NHL actually did put out some videos from player safety, kind of explaining all this and why it was clean. I know George Peros also appeared on the Coast to Coast Amazon episode as well last night. So, I mean, there's certainly lots, at least they're putting more information out there. Check that out if you haven't already, if you're still convinced that it was not a good hit. But Knies is definitely going to be out for a little while. When you go on IR, it's a minimum of 7 days, so it's hard to say exactly. It could be more than that for him. I know with Austin Matthews, he was, as of last night at least, was still in Germany, was believed to be heading home sometime, they said, over the next 24 hours or so I assume he'll arrive back in Toronto sometime over the weekend, and is expected that he might play mid to late next week. So we'll see where that goes. But the other big news is that they've signed Nylander, but not William. Of course, the assignment's Alex. And we talked in the offseason about them signing Alex Nylander and how cool it would be if he could get a chance to play with his brother William here. But at the time, it wasn't possible because they had signed him to an AHL-only deal. Between their cap situation and everything, it just wasn't possible. But now they're so decimated with injuries, they have a bigger LTIR pool to draw upon, that Alex Nylander is now getting signed to an NHL contract. So that's why you're hearing this news. Yes, he was part of the Leafs organization, but where you're on an AHL-only deal, you can't be called up to the NHL. Doesn't matter how good you're doing or how much the team wants to, without signing you to a new contract for the NHL, they don't have that option. So he's at league minimum prorated for the rest of the season. You have to think with the injuries that he'll be in the lineup here shortly, which is why they're signing him. you kind of hope at some point maybe him and William get a chance to play on the line together, but that's just for fun purposes. I don't know. Obviously, Craig Ruby's got to be focused on winning, not on fun. So I guess whatever he thinks is best. But the fact that they're even going to be on the same roster and have a chance to be in the same game together is cool for them. He's had a strong performance with the Marlies in the AHL so far. I believe he was at 8 goals, if I'm not mistaken, in 14 games. So he's continued to play well there. He's played well in the AHL the last few stints he's had. It's just really a matter of getting it all together, consistency at the NHL level, which is what he did last year. For the first time, he had a really good run. I'm surprised he didn't get a chance to stay with the Jackets. But, at the same time, I'm sure he's happy to be in Toronto with his brother. And if things can work out that he can make the most of it and grab a roster spot in Toronto, I'm sure he'd love that even more. So at the same time, we'll see how this happens, but it's going to be fun to watch. Interesting to see how it works out. I know Alex Nylander's been a high pick like his brother, was highly touted like his brother, but hasn't really put it together at the NHL level like his brother. And maybe that environment and the right fit just hasn't been there just yet. We started to see glimpses of it last year. Will this be what he needs to really help his career kind of take off? He's still not that old, really. He's still young enough that he could still make the most of a decent career if he can, get on a good track and stay with one team and, have a, prolonged run with some, line mates and everything, just to kind of have some consistency in his life, which would be good. Let me know your thoughts on this news. I'll be back a little bit later with a recap of the full NHL news and rumor roundup for the day, of course, as well. So stay tuned for that. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around so you don't miss anything. And I will catch you next time.